Okay, good evening all. I believe, I am audible to all of you. Okay, now in this particular session, we will discuss, the exact examination hall strategy that I want every one of you to, follow. And this will be useful for the people, who made mistakes last time. And this will be very highly useful for the people, who are writing, the first time. So I'm requesting every one of you, just to follow me, just take 30 minutes. I'll explain properly what questions to answer and what questions not to answer. Okay, I'll explain everything properly. Everyone focus. Okay, good evening, good evening. Right, so in this particular session, I will give you a majorly 5 tips and tricks that you people has to follow in order to qualify it. Okay, now the tip number 1, we will explain one by one, which is the category, know your category. And in the tip number 2, how many number of questions to attempt in order to qualify, again according to our category, and what kind of questions that we have to attempt in the given question paper, and from which lesson. This is a very important one, how to select a question from which lesson. Right. At the same time, how much amount of time that we have to spend on each section in the exam. So this will be really useful session. Now I want every one of you to listen to me very carefully. Okay. Whomever joined right now, please start understanding and listen to me very, very carefully. Okay, now let's start. The tip number 1, know your category. So some people, what they will do is, without knowing their category, suppose example, they belongs to a category of the STN or SC, any other category, they start answering for the 140 marks or 130 marks. And some people will try to answer 150 marks also. But surprisingly, they won't get even 60 to 70 marks also. Forgot about 70 to 80. And some OBC candidate, if they have to get hardly 105 marks in order to qualify the LS, they use it to answer for 135 marks, where they will lose most of the answers in the negative marking, and they won't get their qualifying mark. So you people should not do that kind of a mistake at all. So before you start the question paper itself, everyone should have a clear-cut idea how many number of questions to be answered in each and every section. That is a very important. You have to remember it. Okay, now listen, every one of you focus. Here, friends, whatever the marks that I have entered here, which is 90% approximate marks, but mostly, you have to satisfy these many marks only. If it is a general category student, if they are trying for the JRF, I encourage you, your safe score is 120, safe score. And even though if you're in the range of 120 minimum and 122 maximum, undoubtedly you will crack the exam. Everyone, please continue. Then in case of same general category, if they are aiming for the LS, it should be minimum of 115 and maximum of 117. Don't get confused. So I will tell you how to get this 122 marks, how to get this 115 marks, how many number of questions to be answered. I will tell that. First, remember how much you have to get. That is a very important point. Yeah. Next, for the OBC, in order to crack the JRF, you have to get 106 to 110 marks. That is also again in the safe score. And for LS, it is minimum 90, maximum 102. 102 is a very maximum. 110 also very maximum, I am telling you. For OBC candidate, mostly 106, 107 will be the maximum. Don't worry about that. Right. Now, in case of a ST and SC, please don't do this mistake. ST and SC people, you can easily qualify the exam if you understand the question paper pattern very correctly. And I have included ST and SC both categories students. And what I have given is for the JRF and LS, both I have given 100 marks. You know why I have given 100 marks is if you get 100 marks out of 200 marks, I have not given what is the minimum, what is not, what is the maximum for both categories. But both category people keep in mind that you have to get 100 marks. If you get 100 marks, trust me, your rank is also, below 200 in India, and you can qualify for very sure. That's why don't keep the target of 80 marks or 85 marks. Directly keep the target of 100 marks. So according to your category, now you remember how many marks that you have to get. Based on that, only, let's try to understand how many questions we have to answer. Okay, first point, you understand your category. If your category is a general, which is 120 marks, what is your ultimate goal? Your ultimate goal is that maximum you have to answer 130 marks. I am using the word maximum. If you think that I will answer 160 marks, I can easily get the 120 marks. Okay, so that is the blunder mistake. That never ever do that kind of a mistake. If you think that if you answer 160 questions, trust me, you will get your marks less than 100. So that's why in competitive exam, whatever the question that you are choosing, that question should be a correct, you have to give a correct answer. In that way only you have to choose the question. That's why if your target, if your qualifying is 120, you have to attempt only 130. That's all. Okay, don't go beyond that level. Now you understand your category. Then the second, another important tip, how many number of questions to be attempted. That's a very important. So I will again explain one by one category. So example, okay, whomever joined right now, please continue. Suppose example, I am belonging to a general category student and I want to crack the JRF only. So what is my target? My target is 120 marks. But how many marks that I can attempt? Either 130 or 135. It depends on my confidence levels in the given question paper. So for that, what we have to do? Listen, now you listen. It will be completely varied from category to category. That's why I want you to listen to me very carefully. General category student from a part A, I will tell you what questions to be answered also. Minimum, see, you have a 20 questions in hand. I have written here maximum of 5, but I encourage all of you general category students, you have to answer 4 compulsory. And remember my words, when I use the word you have to answer 4 or 5, it means that you have to answer correctly. If you are having 99% of the confidence on the given question, and if you do not have the 100% of the confidence on the given question, please don't attempt. I don't want you to do that mistake. If you are answering 4 questions, make sure that you will give the right answer and you will get the 8 marks. So in the general paper, you have to get 8 to 10 marks compulsory. Part B. Now remember, I am not telling anything difficult, friends. Part B, how many questions will be there? 50 questions you have. I am not telling any one of you to answer even, remember, continue everyone. I am not telling anyone to answer even half of the 50 questions also. I am telling to just answer 22 questions. So choosing 22 questions in a 50 questions is not a difficult thing, because minimum 10 questions will be a straightforward questions. Minimum I am saying. So remaining 12 questions you have to choose, identify. I will tell you what kind of questions also to choose, don't worry. Last time also some general category students answered only 16 to 17 questions in the part B and they're expecting that they will qualify for sure. This kind of a mistake you should not do. You have to answer out of 50, 20 questions that should be correct. So you have to get 44. And in the part C, you have 75 questions in your hand. Out of 75 questions, at least minimum of 20, minimum. So if you are a general category student, I don't encourage, even though if you answer 19 questions, 19 questions are also not sufficient in the part C. Your minimum target is only 20. Maximum you can go up to 21 or 22, but 21 only I will consider as the maximum. So even though I consider 20, you will get 80 here, and here you will get 144. Here only you qualified exam 122, and this 8 marks will help you a lot. So you are getting 130 marks very easily. And don't tell me that choosing 20 questions out of 75 questions is also difficult. No, I don't believe that. It will become difficult to the students who never read anything. But if you really work hard, at least if you have a 70 to 80% of the knowledge on the overall syllabus, trust me, you can find out the 20 questions easily. So general category students compulsory keep this is as your target. Now when it comes to the OBC students, in the part A, I want you to answer minimum of 4 questions, and that question should be correct. I will tell you what questions to be answered also. Please don't worry about that. Now, part B, out of 50 questions, you have to choose only 20 questions. So friends, you are exactly choosing 40% of that. So can't you really choose 20 questions out of 50? Even though your preparation is 75%, you can choose that. Because I told you, right, 10 questions, I'm using the word 10. Out of 50 questions in the question paper in the part B, trust my words, blindly you trust it. 10 questions will be a straightforward questions, very straightforward. It's like a yes or no questions. If you know it, you can answer. Suppose example, which of the following precursor is involved in the biosynthesis of a hormone auxin? An example I am saying. So which is the tryptophan? So if you know that this is the precursor, you can answer. If you don't know that, you can't answer. There is no point of analyzing. It is not at all critical thinking. You don't need to use your brain. In our question paper, 10 questions will be like that. So OBC students has to identify another 10 easy questions. Then in the part C, you have to answer 20 questions compulsory. So here 80 plus 40 plus 8, 128. You know, the OBC student, if he get 128 for the JRF I am talking about, again his all India rank will be below 150. There is no doubt about it. And if it is a LS, if he or she get 128 marks for LS, I am saying undoubtedly their rank will be below 75 for the OBC candidate. Now, when it comes to the STSC, it is very important, even though you're answering a very less number of questions in the given question paper, make sure that every question that you choose should be correct. So if you think that I will answer 130 marks for the safe side, by that I can get the 100, that trust my words, you never get that. Okay, you will choose all questions wrong. So that's why part A, you choose 3 questions out of 20. Whether you believe my words or not, even though you have not read the general paper even a single time in your lifetime, with respect to the preparation, still you can answer 3 questions, because all the questions are critical thinking. If you analyze properly, you can answer. With a common sense and basic knowledge also, you can answer. Part B, again, 50, out of 50 questions, choose only 15 questions. And when I use the word choose 15 questions, choose 20 questions, choose 22 questions, my only aim is that whatever the question that you are choosing, that should be a correct question. There is no point of getting confused over there. So out of 50 questions, 10 questions will come straight forward, and you people has to struggle with only 5 questions. Any student can answer that. And part C, out of 75 questions, you have to choose 18 questions only. So 72 plus 30 plus 6, you're getting 108 marks. And trust me, the 100 whatever I kept is actually maximum. If your score will be hardly 95, sometimes it will reduce also. Easily you can qualify. So all the category students, first to know your category. First point, in order to crack the JRF and LS in your category, how many marks that you have to get. First point. Second tip you have to remember, if I want to crack the JRF with my respective category, because the cutoff will be always depends on the category. You have to remember that. How many questions I have to answer it in the each section. That's a very important. So now you're crystal clear in your mind how many questions to be answered and how many marks you have to get it. Don't do it anything randomly. Now the tip 3. If we look into the last 10 to 12 question paper, why? Because we can't compare the CSIR exam question papers, very back papers. The reason behind that, 2011 to 2016, the question paper level, I can use the word that the level will be medium to difficult. But if you look into the 2016 to the 2023, we are missing the word called as medium. We are missing the word called medium level. Here it is becoming difficult, extra difficult level. Okay, we are missing the word medium also. Hence, it is very important that you have to choose your questions very correctly. What kind of questions are coming in our exam. So in the part B, we have part C, we have 75 questions. Part B, we are having a 50 questions. So there are 125 questions are there in a part B and part C, which is our core paper. In this particular core paper, all these 125 questions are coming from only this 6 ways. There is no 7th way of asking the question, and there is a 7th way which is which we are observing from last 2 to 3 question papers only. That is the filling the blanks. Even in the filling in the blank questions are also asking, out of 75, hardly minimum one or maximum 2 questions are coming in this way. So there are 7 ways of asking the question: matching, graphical, true or false statement, factual statement. What is the difference between the factual statement or the critical thinking question? Critical thinking questions are mostly analytical. What is the meaning of analytical? It is a kind of experimental based questions only. An example, a student is performing the mitochondrial experiment. As a part of the experiment, he has used a specific inhibitor, and that inhibitor blocked a particular pathway or a particular enzyme activity within the mitochondria. So what actually the question is asking about? The question is asking about the mechanism of inhibitor, how the inhibitor shown its activity, what class it belongs to. It is a thinking question. You have to understand the given experiment, why they are using that inhibitor only, what is the mechanism of that inhibitor, at which step that inhibitor is very specifically acting on, that all you have to analyze. So there are critical thinking and time taking. Factual statement related. What is the speciality of this question? Trust my words, all the options seems to be similar. Every single option seems to be similar. In a given 4 options, trust my words, in a given 4 option, you feel 3 options are more appropriate to the given question. 3 options, but they will ask you to choose some questions. Only 2 options should be correct, but you will find out 3 options are correct, or sometimes you find out 4 options are also correct. Then you will get very much confused. In order to answer this kind of a question, the only method is eliminating the given option. But from the last 10 papers, what I observed in the CSIR question paper is, out of 4 to 5 options given, trust my words blindly, one option will be completely irrelevant to the given question. So your intelligence should depends on eliminating that one option. Okay, you eliminated. Second critical point is that, listen, they will give either a name of the technique or a name of the method or a name of the gene, which you never know, which is obviously they will use a new word. Remember my statements, everyone, correctly. They will use a new word. They will use a new gene. They will use a new, I am saying that new gene or new protein, it doesn't mean that we have never read it. We have never read it before because it was recently introduced, recently used, observed in the specific experiments. So whatever the current experiments are going on, whatever the current genes or proteins or the technique that they have identified, that they will give as one of the option. So your intelligence should depends on eliminating one inappropriate option and not eliminating, understanding the new word or the new term which you never know before. Trust my words, that will be more relevant to that question. So always remember, if they used a new word, they will always use the new word either to confuse you or to check whether you are aware of that or not. If you are aware of that, which means that you are following the recent trends also. So always understand that point, eliminate the irrelevant point, then obviously you can choose the right option. That is how you have to follow the factual statement related questions. Numerical question, if you know the formula, undoubtedly you can answer. If you don't know the formula, you cannot answer. But even though you know the formula, sometimes the calculations seems to be wrong. So you have to choose the the most closest value that they have given in the 4 options. Sometimes you never get a right answer, and even though you got the answer, that won't be there in the option. So you have to choose the very close option, the close value that you got in your numerical. Do not get confused. Then friends, another very important one is the graphical. How to answer the graphical? Whether you believe my words or not, answering graphical is really an art. You have to understand that. First, you have to understand 4 simple things. First, what is given on the x-axis? First point. What is given on the y-axis? Second point. The third point is that very important. What is asked? Okay. Next point. What is given? Then what is real? If you know this, you can answer the question without having any confusion. See, the moment if you see the graph only, some people will get very anxiety, they get anxious. They think that it's very difficult. But trust me, if you start interpreting the graph correctly, you can answer. Suppose example, they have asked a question, in which of the following phases of the cell cycle the CDK level will be extremely higher. CDK level will be extremely higher. So you all people know the answer. What you people know the answer? CDK level will be low in the G1 phase. CDK level will be high in the S phase. You got the answer. This is what? This is the reality. This is the reality. Now you have to find out that the reality is there in the question or not. So now you have to check what was given. On the x-axis, mostly what they will give? They will give the activity of the CDK. On the y-axis, what they will give? Different phases of the cell cycle. So given data is CDK value on x-axis, which phase it will be high in the y-axis. Correct. Now what is asked? In which of the following phases the correct value or the correct quantity of the CDK is representing? For that, what you have to know? You have to know the reality. Only in the G1 phase it is low, S phase it is high. If you know that, undoubtedly you can choose the correct option. It won't take not even 50 seconds also. So the entire graph is only depends on reality, whether you really know about it or not. Suppose example, if you take a partial pressure of the oxygen and hemoglobin saturation, or if they asked comparing with the hemoglobin and myoglobin, you know very well, if suppose example partial pressure of the oxygen is maximum, then what you can observe? Maximum amount of the hemoglobin will come and associated with the oxygen. So what this is the reality situation. More the partial pressure, more the affinity between the oxygen and hemoglobin. So in the given graph, they will make you confused, where the partial pressure is very low, and they will represent the graph that even the partial pressure of the oxygen is very low, they will show the graph that affinity is very higher. And they will make you confused, even the partial pressure of the oxygen is very intermediate level, still they will show that the percent saturation is very highest. So all graphs seems to be similar, but you can answer the question so easily if you know the reality. So that's why you have to know the reality when you are understanding a graphical question. But trust me, if you really don't know the reality, if you don't know that where the G1 level is high, where the CDK level is low, in which phase, if you really don't know about that concept, even though you think 10 minutes on a single question, you never get the answer because you don't know the concept. You don't know the reality. Then just leave that question and move to the next question. Move to the next question. Now, again, the greatest advantage for every category student is, I have told to all of you very clearly that whether it is a general category, OBC category, and ST and SC category students, what I told you, your ultimate goal in the part C, minimum 20, maximum 21. What I told you, minimum 20, maximum 21 means you have to make it correct. So for any category student, what is the advantage? Out of this 20 to 21 questions that you have to answer, trust me, minimum, I'm always using the word minimum 10 questions, maximum 12 questions you will expect in the question paper, especially in the part C from matching. So out of 75 questions, if 10 to 12 questions are matching, and if you answer that 10 to 12 questions, hardly you have to focus on the experimental based question or true or false statement questions, only 9. So this is the biggest advantage to you. And again, some students, what they will do, when they comes to a matching question, they will find out one option and immediately they will choose the answer. That you should not do it, because in matching questions, they will make it very cleverly. to make us very confused. It seems to be very, 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 easy. But trust me, you will get confused with the options. Suppose example, they can make any kind of a matching questions, right? Suppose example, in one column, they will ask an enzyme. Okay. In other column, they will ask reaction. Okay. In other column, they will ask which bond it is cleaving. Which bond it is cleaving. Suppose example, they will give two enzymes. One is called as esterases enzyme. Okay. Then another one is called as peptidases enzyme. Another one is called lipases enzyme. So here you can get little bit confused. Esterases are the one which are cleaving the ester bond. No doubt about it. And some students again will get confused. What are lipases? Lipases are the one which are also involved in breakdown of the lipid solid. Then you will get confused. Whether the esterase and lipases are same, whether the esterases and lipases are different. Undoubtedly, you will choose the wrong answer. So that's why you have to read four options very correctly. Here, peptidases strictly break down the peptide bond only. Esterases strictly break down the ester bond only. Lipases actually involved in the degradation. Okay, they are also involved in breaking down of the ester bond only. But upon breaking down, they immediately allow the degradation of that particular substance whichever it break down. But esterases never involved in it only involved in breaking down. It is not involved in any degradation. So that's why you have to see there is a great difference, right, friends? So proteases are different. Correct, na? Peptidyl transferase is different. Because proteases are involved in cleaving the peptide bond or degrading the peptide bond. Peptidyl transferases are involved in formation of the peptide bond. So concept here is one. Both are acting on the protein only. Both are acting on the protein. Esterases and lipases both are acting on the protein. But the way they show their mechanism of action is entirely different. So that's why you have to choose the correct option. For that you have to understand all the options. And in the matching question, so far I have observed, friends, out of if 12 matching questions are coming, out of 12, hardly one or two will be difficult. That's all. And trust my words, remaining 10 you can answer, even though you are having a 75% conceptual knowledge. Conceptual knowledge also you can answer that. So now in our question paper, these 6 plus filling the blanks questions are coming. So in this 7 are the ways that we can get the question paper. Now, we really don't know in which chapter what kind of questions are coming. That is also very important. And here itself, 90% of the students will get an idea what kind of questions that I should not answer in the exam. Some students, they will feel very confused, anxious with the numerical questions. If you are very confident that you can't answer the numerical question, if you are very confident that you can't answer the numerical question, even though you answer, you make the mistake, I encourage all of you, just leave this. Why to lose the marks, even though you know you will make it a mistake? It is not the time to take the risk until if your preparation is not at all up to the mark, then you have to do the risk. But your preparation is good, then you have to choose the questions very accurately. Some people, even though they read very well, they get panic when it comes to the graphical question. They get confused. Again, I will tell you, if you're not in the CSR, I don't use the word 99%. Okay, I only use the word 100%. If you're 99% of confident and you are stuck between the A and B, don't answer that question. Why you have to take the risk? You answer whichever is 100% sure. So in this 7 models, all the students use 4 models in solving both part B also, in solving part C also. Never try to trap yourself by answering 7 model questions or 7 type of question. If you're trapping yourself or answering 7 questions, you are the one who is making the biggest mistake in the examination hall. Okay, it is not the competition with others also, it is the competition with you also, yourself also. That's the reason you have to know your weakness and your strength. If you are very weak in the graphical question, what is the point of spending your whole time on the graphical question? Undoubtedly you choose the wrong answer only. You put your efforts in strengthening areas. You are good in true false statement. You are extremely good in understanding the analytical question. You are extremely good in understanding the experimental based question. Then you choose that. You put your effort on that. So you remember what kind of type of questions to attempt. So these level of questions, these ways of questions are coming. Now, from which chapter? This is very important. Right now, you got an idea. 7 ways of questions are coming in our question paper. Now, from which chapter, what kind of questions will come more commonly? Now, I told you here what I told to all of you. Whichever is your strength, you choose that. Whichever is your weakness, you leave it. Some students are having good knowledge on the numerical and graphical. Never ever leave them. The students who are having a good knowledge on the numerical and graphical, they get a super confusion with the factual statement related. They will do almost all questions wrong. Then don't touch that. Don't touch that. So now, according to the last 12 papers, this is what I observed very clearly. In the biochemistry, we are getting matching, graphical, true or false, numerical. These are all very 4 common ways that we expect the question. There is a no doubt in the true or false minimum, they will ask a combination of statements. And in the biochemistry, especially I'm talking, in the combination also, they are asking all the time false statements. Which combination of the statements are false? Factual statements are not coming that much. Not that much. Numerical is a very common, matching is very common, graphical is very common. In the year of 2023 paper, 2023, in both, 2022 both papers, we got the question from the critical thinking. That is an experimental based question. But as I told you, right, we have to take the average of all the papers. That's why I have not specifically mentioned. But if you get the critical statement question this time, if you are good in that, answer it. So now you remember this. If you remember, by that you can understand from where you are getting what kind of a question. Now, cell biology. Cell biology, friends, I can tell you all the students very clearly, there is a no question paper without the question from the experiment, especially in the cell biology. They will link the cancer experiment, or they will link the cell cycle experiment, or they will link the organelle experiment, they will link the cytoskeleton experiment, they will link the transposons experiment. But one point is very clear, you are getting the question which is the experimental based, which is a critical thinking type. If you are understanding what was the ask, what is asking in the given question, and if you know the real situation also, you can answer this. So this is very clear in the cell biology. From the last 12 papers, let's consider. Matching is very common. Graphical questions are coming. True or false statements are common. Factual statement related numerical are very rare. Not very rare. I can say that out of 12 times, let's consider 3 to 4 times. You get the numerical, but not all the time. But biochemistry, 100%. If you take 12 question papers, 12 times you will get the question. So then you decide whether I have to answer it or not. So I think I missed this. Okay. If you look into the molecular biology, okay, molecular biology, every type of a question you will get it. There's no doubt about it. You get a matching, but matching is the less probability of getting. Graphical, 100% of chances are there. True or false, 100%. Factual statement, 100%. Critical thinking type, 100%. Numerical will be, I can say that 70 to 80% of the chances are there. And you know, when they're asking a factual statement related or the critical thinking related, in the molecular biology, they will add diagrammatic based questions also. So again, they'll give the diagram and they will ask where the leading strand is synthesizing, where the lagging strand is synthesizing, where only Pol 1 can show the activity, where only Pol 3 can show the activity, where there is a requirement of primase. This kind of a diagrammatic based questions also will come. But that is purely conceptual. If you know the concept, if you are analyzing that, you can answer. So molecular biology, Unit 4, Unit 5, Unit 6. These 4 are the units. What are those? Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5, Unit 6. You will get the question from every corner. Every corner you will get it, undoubtedly. Let's look into the cell signaling. in the entire chapter of the unit 4, what I observed from the last 12 times, the advantage for you is true or false questions. Undoubtedly. Trust my words, if you are getting a critical thinking questions in the unit 4, the immunology is the only concept you will get the critical thinking questions. Okay. And when it comes to the numerical, you will again get the questions from the immunology only. There is no point of asking any critical thinking question from cell signaling, cell communication, cancer biology, host pathogen interaction. In fact, I can tell to all of you, these four, whether you believe it or not, you will get a very straightforward question. Direct, I can say that. Here itself, whether you believe it or not, here itself, you can answer 4 questions easily. Four markers. Imagine you have to answer a 24 marker in a part C. From just this single unit, you can answer 4 marker without fail, because very straightforward question. You know, if you read once only in the question paper, you will understand that. So that's why never ever leave this particular unit 4. Okay. Then unit 5, some botany people, microbiology people, pure biotechnology people, pure biochemistry people, they will leave the developmental biology. Whether you believe it or not, whether you are a botany student, a zoology student, you have to read the developmental biology. Again, I can tell you, if you take a 12 question papers, example I'm saying, in one question paper, 30 marks are coming. Example, let's consider 24 marks. Let's consider 24 marks are appeared in one question paper out of 12. You have to understand, remaining all the 11 question papers also, 24 marks are very common. It will increase all the time, but it never decrease. In simple words, you will get 3 to 4 part C compulsory. You will get 2 to 3 part B compulsory. There's no bias in that. There's no bias. It's a fixed paper, okay, for this particular unit. And what we observed is 90% of the questions that are asking in the developmental biology are straightforward questions from the Gilbert. Straightforward question. And trust me, this is wrong. In case of a developmental biology chapter, you will get most of the factual statement related, most of the experiments, the experiment related to cleavage, experiment related to gastrulation, experiment related to the ABC model of Arabidopsis thaliana, experiment related with the dictyostelium, experiment majorly related with the spermatogenesis, fertilization. You can believe that even 4 questions also can comes from the factual statement or critical thinking only. 4 questions. And one more point is what, even though how difficult type of experimental or critical thinking question they may ask in the exam, but one point is very clear. At the end, the options are actually representing the genes involved, the proteins involved, the mechanism of that particular thing, inhibitors are involved. Only this will be the question, even though they raise an experimental based question followed by location. Apart from that, there's no way of getting a very, very difficult question. So I'm requesting the people who are very good with the developmental biology, try to answer at least 2 to 3 part C, 2 to 3 part B. Why? Because they are straightforward question with little understanding of the concept. If you have a conceptual knowledge, you can answer. Then again, plant physiology is also a chapter exactly like a developmental biology. There is no point of bias here. If you look into the 2023 paper, morning shift also, you got a 4 to 5 questions only. You got 5 part C. Evening shift also, you got 5 part C. Then imagine, in one paper only, one chapter only, 10 questions are coming. I am talking only part C. Then if you look at the part B, minimum 2, maximum 3. Maximum 3. Hence, this is also one of the chapter that no one should leave it under any circumstances. In this, plant physiology, most of the time, if you get a critical thinking or the experimental based question, there is only one chapter that you will get here. That is the sensory photobiology. This is the only unit where you get the experimental based question. If not, from the photosynthesis, you will get the experimental based question. Apart from that, every single question is conceptual. If you know the concept, If you remember that gene, if you remember that hormone, the receptor used it, precursor used it, where it is involved, when it is involved, if you know that, undoubtedly you can answer that. So again, my sincere request, use your brain, eliminate the option very correctly and choose the right answer. For that, you require a great patience. Human physiology, one of the good unit for the zoology students. The zoology students I really encourage, see, because botany students are very good in plant physiology. Zoology students are very good in the human physiology. So now, even though you answered 1 or 2 questions less in the plant physiology, I encourage you use that questions in the human physiology. Now, you remember I told you there is a no question paper without asking the critical thinking type of a question from the developmental biology. Same way, there is a no question paper without getting a clinical based questions. Clinical based question. What was that? What is the meaning of a clinical based question? It is all about the situations. A person admitted with specific symptoms. The doctor was given a specific drug. What is the reason why the doctor given that specific drug only? What is the reason? This is what a clinical study. So there is a specific symptom. In order to understand that symptom, we require a specific drug only. Based on the symptom, we have given that. So it's purely a clinical study only. So you have to understand, and most of the questions will related to the drugs. Okay, but if you know the concept, you can easily answer that. And one more thing, in the human physiology, matching questions, true or false questions, both are easy questions. Easy questions. I encourage you to read. Don't leave these 2 areas. Factual statement and critical thinking are clinical studies. If you are not into a very zoology candidate, and if you do not have a very good knowledge on that, don't do experimentation. Okay, don't do experimentation until you have a good knowledge or until you have a good subject. So focus on this. If you know the subject, then come to the critical thinking type. Otherwise, don't come. Okay, then the people who are little weaker in the zoology focus on matching and true or false. The people who are good in the zoology focus on critical thinking, factual statement, because you can answer these questions so easily, because they will come from a direct concept, but they will do the application of a clinical study. Then whether you are a botany, zoology, biotechnology, biochemistry, whatever your specialization, microbiology, I don't encourage any student to leave the genetics, ecology, evolution. Why? If you again look into the 2023 question paper, if you look into the 2022 question paper, highest number of questions coming from the ecology and evolution. If you are leaving that ecology and evolution, you are the one who is doing the blunder mistake. It is extremely difficult to crack the exam also. Okay, never neglect that. And what about the genetics? If you observe the genetics, again the 10 question paper, you will get every single type of question. An example, you take a Mendel principle or extra Mendel principle, you are getting the numerical undoubtedly. Correct na? If you are getting a graphical here, instead of graphical, we can say diagrammatic based, which are pedigree we are getting. Instead of a pedigree in the factual statement related or the critical thinking related, we are getting the questions from the linkage, we are getting the questions from recombination, we are getting the questions from the chromosomal abnormalities. When it comes to the matching, when it comes to the true or false, we are getting the questions from the mutations, we are getting the questions from the extra chromosomal inheritance. But what is the point that you have to observe? If from the genetics, if 10 units are there, 10 subunits are there, you keep it in your mind, 8 subunits you will get the question, including part B and part C. There's no doubt about it. So the frequency of repeating the questions from the genetics is more common. Hence, most of the students are very good in the genetics with respect to the understanding of the concept. Genetics, I will tell to every student, it is only critical thinking. Okay, and I don't expect a great number of matching questions from the genetics. Okay, may or may not, I can say the probability is also less than 50%. Apart from the matching, trust my words, in every corner you will get the question. Every corner you will get the question. So that's why in the genetics, again you see that which is very strong unit of yours. Suppose you are super good in the linkage, you search very clearly whether the question is there from the linkage or not. You're super good in solving the numericals related to the bacterial genetics, transduction, transformation experiment. You search where that question is there. Then only you answer. Don't search for the question which you don't know. You have not read anything about extra chromosomal inheritance and you are trying to answer that question. Don't do that stupid mistake. So you only focus on whichever you know it. Then ecology. What is, what can I say about the ecology and evolution? At least we can say something about the evolution. But if you look into the ecology, friends, you have to believe this. It is purely memory based. Purely, I can say. Okay. Now, again, let's consider the 2023 morning shift, evening shift. 2022 June, morning shift, evening shift. 2022 December, morning shift, evening shift. So how many papers I have taken? 6 papers I have taken. In all the 6 papers, ecology is the chapter where the highest weightage was given. Where the highest weightage was given. An average, I am talking average. 5 4 marker will come for very sure. 4 2 marker will come for very sure. Then imagine one single paper is giving 28 marks. Okay. So now in these 5 questions, your target is only 2. And in this 4 question, again, your target is only 2. And here you see it. You get the numerical also. Very commonly. Numerical you will get from the population. Every time we are getting the numerical. Population ecology or the community ecology. Only 2 ways. You will compulsory get the critical thinking type of a questions with respect to the tropic level. Phytoplankton, zooplankton, planktivorous fish, tropic level. Or the assimilation efficiencies. Very common it is. And when it comes to the matching question, true or false questions, factual statement related questions, these 3 are memory based. You have to believe my words. You check the question paper of 2023 morning and afternoon shift. I told you, right, 4 questions was given in the part B. All 4 questions are memory based. All 4 questions. Which animal is present in which national park? What is their conservation status? Which are very straightforward. So again, the student who read the chapter very well, I'm requesting you try to answer maximum number of questions. If you are 100% sure, if you're 99% sure also, just leave that. Then evolution. Evolution, I will tell you, undoubtedly one question, which is a part B. Okay, part B will come from theories of evolution. Okay, or origin of the cells or the experiment related. Very straightforward question. Very straightforward. Another question will very surely, without this also there is a no question paper at all. One question undoubtedly come from the geological time scale. Undoubtedly. You will get one more question undoubtedly Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, either a numerical or a graphical or a statement related or a factual statement. Then kin selection, altruism, speciation, and equilibrium theories. From here, they're all theory based only, but they make the questions very difficult, friends. The questions won't be easy, okay, until you know the extreme depth of the concept, and if you're analyzing the given options correctly, then only you can choose it. Otherwise, don't touch that. You can easily answer the question from Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. You can easily answer the questions from geological time scale. Whichever the strong parts are there, choose that strong part and do it. Next one, applied biology. In 2022 2 times, 2023 2 times, the number of questions are getting, from this unit are becoming low. But what we observed from the last 12 question papers is, again, there is a no question paper most of the time without question from the agrobacterium mediated gene transfer. I don't know about your luck now this time, because 2023 morning shift also, afternoon shift also, very surprising. 4+2 we got it. 6 marks from one single topic. Again in the 2022 June paper also, December paper also, both times we got the question from agrobacterium. It's a kind of a fixed question. And again, 100% or 90% of the chances are there you will also get the matching question from the vaccines or the recombinant products or the genes and biotechnological applications. Very straightforward. You don't get, you will get the factual statement and critical thinking questions, but they are so easy. Very easy questions only you'll get it. But I will tell you how many number of questions that you have to answer. Then one of the biggest unit after the unit 4, which is the methods in biology. Let's consider 5 4 marks are coming. Let's consider 4 2 marks are coming. Out of these 5 markers, you just mark my words. You will get minimum 1 matching question, maximum 2 matching questions. Just blindly believe it. And you will get 1 graphical question. You will get 1 experimental based question. You will get 1 numerical question. You will get 1 true or false statement questions. All will be covering in this particular unit also. Hence, you have to decide whether you are good in the graphical part, good in the matching part, good in the experimental part. You decide that, based on that only you give the answer. Now, you got it. Now, I believe every student understand first before starting the question paper only, you have to decide your category, and you know the category and you have to decide, because friends, your 6 to 9 months effort will be completed in 3 hours. So every student, if someone says that I'm not at all anxious, I'm not at all exciting, so everyone is just lying. Everyone will get excited, everyone feel anxious. That is okay to be anxious, but you have to know how many questions that you have to answer. So you are a general category student. What is your maximum target? 130 marks. That 130 marks should be correct. Hardly 2 to 3 marks you can lose. You got that. Then again, first you know the category, you know how many marks you required. You know how many questions has to be answered from every session. You know from which unit, which type of questions also will come. Now you decided what type of questions also to choose. Now, above all, the most important one, the time management. You're all MSc completed and you're all having good experience, but I know that, but still, these are all the, general things that happens to everyone. What kind of a mindset will come to the students is, example, I'm saying example. You are a general category student. Just now we all people discussed that out of 50 questions in the part B, I have to answer it 22. We just discussed that out of 75 questions, we have to answer 21 questions correctly. Now you have started the part C. When you started the part C, you have read 10 questions, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. And surprisingly, all the 10 questions seems to be very difficult to you. Then 90%, I can say that more than 95% of the students start giving up. They will think that exam is over, I can't get this time. Everyone is forgetting that still you have 65 questions. You lost only 10 questions. Still you have 65. In that 65, again, you can't choose the 21. You have to think that if 10 questions are that much difficult, why can't you think that remaining 65 questions are kind of a moderate? Even that's a kind of moderate, you can identify that. So that's why when you start solving a given question in the exam, it is important to trust your preparation. And you can't judge your preparation just in the span of 15 minutes to or 1 hour. You can't. After 1 hour also, sometimes you feel very excited. But, and again, some students are what? Out of 21 questions, out of 75, they have to answer 21 only. Out first 10, they answered very correctly. Here again, what happens? Super excited they are. They have to answer only 11 questions remaining in the part C. Now this, because of super excitement, trust my words, because of overconfidence, they will choose all 11 questions wrong. By the result, they won't get even 30 marks also in the part C. So you should not excite, you should not get depressed. You have to trust the preparation, and you have to be in the examination hall up to 3 hours. Whether you're qualifying or not, that is the absolutely secondary thing. And banish negative thoughts. I told you, right? When you answered 5 questions wrong, when you answer 5 questions wrong, you feel you can't do it. When you answer 5 questions right, you feel that I can do anything. The overconfidence comes again. So both you should not do it. You have to be very peaceful. Take a deep breath. So it is scientifically proven, when you take a breath, brain always get a fresh oxygen. It will think very calmly and it will think very sharply. Okay, never get excited. It's very common. We keep on getting excited. The moment you get excited, don't worry about the others, what others think about you. You just take a deep breath. It will help you a lot. Okay, that's very important. And most important, every category student will do is trying for the perfection. Okay, what is that perfection? If a student is extremely good in genetics, if a student is extremely good in molecular biology, what they will do? They think that I know every question in the genetics, I know every question in the molecular biology. So to prove their perfection, they will try to answer every single question from the genetics and molecular biology. Example, I am saying. As a result, if 6 questions were given, you have answered 6 questions. But unfortunately, not unfortunately, mostly only 3 questions will be correct, 3 questions will be wrong. So now whatever the questions are right, these negative marks are going here itself. Then what is the use of that? That's why stop trying for perfection. Okay. Don't think that I am good in the chapter of ecology doesn't mean that you have to answer all. Again, I'm telling you, you remember your category, right? And I told you how many questions to be answered in the part C, part B. Example, for a general category student, I told you to answer 21 questions, which means how many units you have studied? 10 units you have studied. 10 units, example. Or 11 units you have studied. Is it really necessary from one unit only you have to choose the 4 questions even though you are not confident about that? No, that is again a blunder mistake. Out of 10 units, I told you, right? Out of 10 units, use your brain. Every single unit, you will get a 2 direct questions. You use that brain and identify that questions and answer. Don't try for, if you're 99% not sure, but your brain says that please give the answer, believe yourself. Don't do that. Okay. That is emotional trigger. Here the emotional trigger never occur, never works. You have to use the scientific approach. If you are 100% sure about that answer, then only give it. If you have a doubt, why to approach that? Because we have other units also, we have other questions also. So that's why from every unit you use only, I encourage for every student, 2 part C, 2 part B. That is enough to crack the exam. Okay. And at most important one, some people, because of this over excitement, they will try to finish the question paper within 2 hours. I don't know how that really possible. Some people, when the time reaches 2:45 p.m., they will get super tense. Oh, I have only 15 minutes of time for the party. How can I do this? And even though they know the answer, they will do all mistakes. So any topper or anyone who are securing a very good rank, they are actually maintaining the time is very crucial here. You have 180 minutes. How many questions that we have to answer in the part C? We have to answer only 21. Our goal is not 21, right? Sorry, 25. I am talking just a maximum goal, 21. In order to answer these 21 questions, I'm just telling you, friends, how many questions we will read in the question paper. Undoubtedly, I believe we will read minimum of 65 questions. Otherwise, you can't answer. So 65 questions you are analyzing in order to answer 21 question. So you compulsory require 65 questions, 1.5 minute. In 1.5 minute, undoubtedly you can answer. 1.5 minute, I will give always maximum. So 100 minutes, happily you spend minimum 90 minutes and maximum 100 minutes. Happily you can spend it. So much of time. Okay. Then part B, I told you, right? Part B, you no need to use a super brain. Most of the questions are not critical thinking. Applicative based questions only, but you require a good conceptual knowledge for that. But won't take time like part C, because part C is you have to understand experiment, understand the graph, understand the numerical, revise that formula, recollect it, recheck your answer. So it's time taking. Part B is a straightforward. Hence, what is our goal for the general category student? I told 22 questions. Do you really think in order to study the part B question, it will really take 1 minute of time? No, it will take just 30 seconds of time. But I have mentioned 2 minutes for one question. 2 minutes I mentioned. 2 minutes. Then imagine how much time you have. 40 to 45 minutes. And again, when it comes to the party, some students, with negligence, they will leave the party. That is a blunder mistake, because this will help you a lot. You, with your common sense also, you can answer 3 to 4 questions. Out of 20 questions, friends, you find out, with respect to your category, find out at least 3 to 5 questions, which are very easy. So answering 5 questions in 20 minutes, it is not at all difficult thing. So much of time you have. This will avoid all your tensions in the examination hall. And again, it's a common mindset of every Indian student is that whenever we are answering a question, we will always worry about the result. We have not completed the question paper only, but we will think about the result. What that thoughts only comes in the exam hall. Because if you make one question wrong, you will think that your focus where it will go, how I should prepare for the next term. Just because you made one question wrong. Because this is the common tendency I observe. If some students answered 5 questions very correctly, then they will think that how many marks I will get, where I have to apply after this exam. These are all, excitement. Okay. These two category students never qualify the exam. The only person who qualify the exam is who is really peaceful in 3 hours and who is only thinking about that 3 hours. Okay. So for that reason, you have to believe in your preparation while you're giving an examination, while giving exam in that 3 hours. Right. Okay, that's all for now. I hope the session will be a little useful to all of you. Now you can raise any type of a questions that you get it. Please ask me any kind of a questions. Yeah. If anyone having any kind of a doubt, you can ask me. Okay. Now don't worry about it. You can do it. You can do it. Okay. I already told you, if someone feels very sad that I can't do it, that is no problem. I will be there again. We'll work extremely harder. Okay. Don't worry about that. You put your efforts up on this exam. That's absolutely fine. Okay. For the next 2 days, Monday, please don't do anything. Monday, don't do anything. For tomorrow, whatever the tables or whatever the graphicals are there in the, in the book, please try to read. And especially, Mauli, don't worry about that. Everything will be all right. And especially focus tomorrow and day after tomorrow, ecology. Try to remember maximum amount of information present in the table. Don't worry about your result, Mauli. You just focus on the final exam. It will be good. All right. Don't worry. Don't worry. Everything will be fine. Yeah, it is mock. That's all. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.